Welcome back, everyone. As you see, the Unicorns of Love meeting some of their fans, but Fnatic and Roccat are gearing up on stage, and both squads need every win they can get if they want a shot at moving forward, going into playoffs, not being in that danger zone. The big storyline coming into this one, obviously, is yesterday Roccat booked a win with their new support, Noxiac, and they're up against Fnatic now, which is, of course, Noxiac's ex-team, and it was yesterday versus the Unicorns of Love. Is that the Noxiac influence you think that you saw yesterday, or is it more you guys not playing your comp?
I think we didn't play it well. We've been over this game already, and there was a lot of... We had tap advantage in the early game with the Nautilus, and we should have translated this easily into a turret, maybe even defend topside, get way more ahead, and then do a TP play. But we didn't know before, we didn't study enough, so in the end, you know, the team working harder won. And I talked with the Roccat coach and with the Rocket's manager, and apparently, you know, this is what they've practiced. So, you know, in this regard, I think they were better prepared.
I feel like I watched the game as well to study you guys before our match, and I felt, looking at it from Roccat's perspective, I felt like they've always had this issue where they have these leads in the early game because Airwax and Bestie seem to play so well in the early game, and then the mid game comes and it collapses.
Yeah, nothing happens.
Boom. And I felt the game against you, well, they had a plan. They had an idea of how to finish the game, which was nice to see.
And for me, that boils down to Freddy actually being on a pick that he seems very comfortable on. Because very often, Freddy will get no assisted in the jungle. Here we see the man of the hour, obviously. He's always smiling, even after losses, which is cool.
Yeah, and he was so strong. There was one fight, you know, where he two shots, both of our carries, and he had 5 crits in a row.
Yeah.
Can you believe?
I mean, he just did the math, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wins the fight.
Yeah, and then he didn't have crits for 20 times in a row. You know, this is how it works.
But after that, still the Rammus on Freddy, I think, was key because he was finally split pushing, putting pressure, not being the guy to clear up the wave. And Freddy so often in the early game just gets absolutely no assistance from the jungler. So yeah, he gets on farm, then he gets killed a couple of times, he gets demoralized, and he just isn't in the game anymore. And I think that's important for Roccat, especially playing against Gamsu, who has a similar style. Like, either of those can tilt into oblivion and do things like split pushing an inhibitor at like 12 minutes in the game.
It's like the one thing I'm thinking about is Roccat's win against Vitality, right? He was the first one that busted out the Zac. Like, he had the mindset of playing tanks already, and already now we can see the meta is shifting towards this tank. We see less Fiora, we see a couple of Quins here and there, but people are starting to play Nautilus, Malphite, and Rammus, and maybe Zac again. And I feel, as you said, that's perfect for Freddy.
Yep.
Yeah, might work in his favor. They're up against Fnatic in this one, as we mentioned already. Noxiac now in the ranks of Roccat, shot calling. We know that Fnatic wanted to change their support because it wasn't gelling entirely. Now they have Klai. Yesterday, their game, though, that shot calling is still suffering, is what we've seen, Krepo.
I feel like the biggest issue...
Go ahead, man. Go ahead, man. No, I just felt really passionate about this replay because where the Baron falls down now, we see Klai later on going with the hook. And for me, Fnatic, they lack like an overarching voice.
It's like, I thought for a second, you know, in my dream world that I was Krepo, but of course I'm not, sadly. What I feel is the biggest issue when it comes to Fnatic is there is no cooperation between the support and the jungler. Yep. Spirit is always farming, doing his own thing, but it is very rare that Fnatic win a game through anything else but team fighting. They're not doing any rotational plays, they're not moving around the map, and that requires good teamwork between the support and the jungle. And that is what is required at this level of play.
The players are ready. I do want to ask your predictions because I feel like it's leaning a bit more towards Roccat for some of you. What do you think?
I have absolutely no clue. I guess it's Fnatic for me.
That's telling enough.
It's Fnatic unless Noxiac gets barred again. And then I want to see the same invade, stop the enemy camp, do that cheese, sprinkle the Parmesan. See, Sheep is already tired of it. I talked to Yamato earlier about it too. Yeah, Bard or Fnatic?
I'm going to say Fnatic. It's so hard to predict this one because after yesterday, Roccat has shown strength and Fnatic has showed weakness. But I'm going to say Fnatic because it's just better for us in the standings. So.
All right. I think we all understand that. Well, the team's already asset, so we're going to send it over to the casters and see how this one plays out.
Thank you, Sharks. I'm Richard Polscam, taking over the desk with Martin DeFischer along. It's the invasion over here. And as the teams load up, let's look at who's starting for the teams. And first up on Fnatic, it is top lane Gamsu, jungle Spirit, mid lane Fevin, AD carry Reckless, with support Klai and coach Daylor.
Yeah, and on the other side, we have Roccat, who managed to pick up a very important win for them yesterday. Looking for one more, with Freddy in the top lane, Airwax in the jungle, Betsy, the star in the mid lane, taps the AD carry, Noxiac support. I'm losing my voice, and Grabs is also the coach for the team.
Yeah, talking about the rising star in the mid lane, Betsy has really started to turn up over the split, at least compared to like last split.
Since week one of the split, basically.
Since week one, and it's really just turned up, and a lot of that weight has been on her shoulders. Also talking about like Freddy in the top lane, did really well last week. The team seems to be coming together now.
Yeah, and it's very telling, as Shock said on the analyst desk, when you have Sheepy, Crepo, and Yamato Cannon getting asked, like, is Fnatic going to win this game over Roccat? You know, Fnatic has been top 6 entire split long. Fnatic has been down the bottom entire season. And yet they're all been like, I guess Fnatic, but I'm not really too sure. And that's telling a lot because Fnatic's performance, it hasn't been the greatest lately. And Roccat, you know, on the upswing. Noxia coming in, very aggressive play, always prides himself in being very aggressive. One of the reasons he didn't fit with Reckless. Combine Rocket's good early game with now an aggressive support who can make some calls, that could actually lead into some very, very scary snowballing from Roccat.
It'll be super interesting to track, especially because Noxia's playing against his old team, so we'll see how that one pans out as we get into the game. But we are into Champions League, so let's see how these bans will pan out. You know, we were talking just before we went live about how we think this one's going to go, but the Rammus, Corki, and Nidalee will change some of those dynamics.
Well, Nidalee we expected from Roccat. You don't want to give it the first pick over to Spirit. I think Gragas is going to be super contested for both junglers. I wouldn't even be surprised to see Gragas' first pick in this specific matchup. But the thing Roccat needs to aim for is deny what they lost to last time and the way Fnatic wins games at the moment. Late game, protect Reckless, get him on a scaling carry. So you ban the Lulu, even ban the last component of the Giacomo if you want to. And we talked about this Gragas here. The reason Fnatic are banning Gragas is because they actually said we don't want to first pick it, but we know you will take it in the first rotation. And the last 2 games Roccat has played Gragas, they've been winning them.
Yep.
So far 2-0 for ROC. He's been good on this champion, so that's why Fnatic banned it.
So let's just straight up take it off the board. I'm wondering if we see a Gangplank ban as the last one here, and we'll see how they'll actually choose to pick that one
I think you leave Gangplank open.
And then let it go over to Roccat for first rotation?
You tell Fnatic, you can first pick this one and put it in mid lane. We know where it's going. Again, this is what we talked about yesterday. Gamsu hasn't shown a Gangplank at all. He's only been playing tanks over and over and over and over. So by leaving it open, I think Roccat actually has a very good idea here of how Fnatic likes to pick and ban and say, you're not going to first pick it because it goes straight to mid lane. We can now take it if you want to, or we can even still let it go further through because we're not that afraid of Febiven playing the Gangplank.
And there's still power picks available, like Alistar is still open if they want that for support. Lucian is fine now. They've already picked up the Kalista on Fnatic, so they don't even need to priority pick the AD carry now.
It's a very good first pick from Fnatic though, because
I like the Northwest if they lock this in.
Yeah, I like this as well from Roccat, but what Roccat were trying to do with the Thresh ban is they're trying to basically be like, hey, first pick Gangplank, we get Kalista Alistar. Okay, you're not going to do that, fine. First pick Kalista then. We at least get the Alistar, so we get the best support available, and we ban out the comfort pick for Cly, and then also this Nautilus. And this is something we talked about just coming into the game, obviously off air. Nautilus is the pick I think Gamsu wants the most, because it's the strongest early game tank, and Fnatic often needs some early game pressure because they tend to fall behind early on, but every team picks it very early and just steals it away from Gamsu and pushes him to like Maokai or Malphite. And then Fnatic gets this very slow scaling composition where Gamsu has no impact for quite a while, and he has to like make a crazy TP play or great engage to really have an impact in the game.
Yeah, I mean, you simply can't win that matchup as other tanks. Nautilus just clicks E, and if you run away, you take almost double damage because it goes almost up to double the damage if you take hits from every single recharge. So you just can't win. Got slightly triggered, but yeah, Alistar also being picked up as well for support, and then going over back to Fnatic, Lee Sin and Lissandra. Okay.
So we've seen Lissandra from Febiven quite a few times. Again, we are expecting it to go to the mid lane. I always liked it with Lee Sin. It's an old combo where like level 6, gank mid, get a kill.
Yeah.
We don't see that very often anymore because teams have learned to ward around the mid lanes and like they spot the ganks coming very easily. But it has still been a good pick for Febiven because again, it gives Fnatic some early game tempo where the rest of the team always falls behind. Like Reckless has to farm up for late game on a late game carry. Gamsu needs to farm up on a tank. Febiven is the man in the mid lane who's then creating the plays. Hopefully he can do it together with Spirit. Now it's on a Lee Sin pick. That's what we need to see from Fnatic. Because I actually don't think Spirit has shown much synergy with any of his members outside of Gamsu. But that doesn't have any value when Gamsu is just playing a tank. So it's where Spirit has been in kind of a weird place. Not really fitting in with the support. We haven't seen him and Febiven make crazy plays together either too often. He needs to find his place.
I actually think that's a really good point, because we were talking about both these junglers kind of being very solo queue orientated, and maybe Gragas will help them with that. Lee Sin is just straight up a solo queue type jungler, so that may not help his synergy as we get into this game, but we'll have to see. I'm also wanting to see what Fnatic bring into the top lane as well to also facilitate that early game pressure.
Yeah.
On Roccat though, we do have Rek'Sai and Kog'Maw being picked up, so we already have a massive front line for that Kog'Maw.
Most likely a Malphite pick or the Maokai if you want their home guard TP engage and then like just point and click on taps to lock him down, but you need some follow-up engage that can follow the Lissandra in to kill taps late game. Because if you guys think back to last time these two teams played, it was the Roccat destroying early game, go late game, and then lose every fight to the Lulu Caitlyn. They are now packing late game punch on the side of Roccat. Big late game team fights, you know, tank jungler, tank support, tank top lane, and then the greatest AD carry in the late game right now. Roccat is saying if we go 60 minutes again, we win this time.
Kog'Maw does the damage of basically an entire team. But yeah, so Graves is just locked in alongside Braum, so we've got the support coming out.
That's for Gamsu.
Yeah, that will be for Gamsu, bringing the Graves into the top lane. So that is actually early game pressure. You can't beat the top lane tank as another tank, so you pick Graves, push him into tower, and you win that way.
And this does enable the Spirit Gamsu synergy that we have seen in the start of the split coming in. Interesting pick and ban phase, Fnatic changing it after it became so predictable yesterday. I feel like H2K was just like, yeah, we know where you're sending every single pick and what your last pick is going to be. Throwing a few curveballs. Roccat still has a very solid lineup with the first 4 picks, and Graves into Nautilus, it's good for Graves. He will push the Nautilus into tower over and over and over. And then it's up to Spirit to invade on Lee Sin, but Lee Sin's 1-5 is not the greatest anymore. He actually wants level 6 before he really comes online. So I think Rek'Sai is going to be fine in that matchup.
Yeah, and there's also the possibility of lane swaps in this one to even maybe avoid that completely, waiting on that final pick, and it is Anivia for Betsy in the mid lane, so...
Jesus.
Yeah.
We're going full team fight here.
Yeah.
And like zoning, protecting tabs, make sure tabs can just stand still. He never has to move, like 3-man front line combined with a wall.
It's such a cool composition.
To protect taps. Only problem for Roccat is if anything gets to taps, only the Alistar can kind of headbutt you away. Everyone else is going to struggle to kind of disengage it.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of CC. Like every member here outside of taps is running either knock up or stun. So Roccat is basically saying we go late game, we protect our AD carry. He stands still, we kill you. It's on Fnatic now to play aggressive in the mid game. Something the team hasn't done very well before, or at least the last few weeks, where it's been protect Reckless, go 40 minutes, win game.
Right, and I'm even looking at the composition from Fnatic now and seeing what are the options, right? Because you have Lissandra, we've spoken a lot about the pick and being great at jumping into the backline and stalling out the AD carry, and I think that may even be the linchpin of these team fights as we get into it. Because Graves, he's going to be not right in the front lines. He's not going to be on the enemy AD carry. He's going to be fighting the bruises at the front. So I feel like Fevman's going to have to do a lot in this matchup to shut down the Kog'Maw.
I mean, Fnatic is about playing on 3 lanes at once and then create a lot of picks, you know, catch Roccat when they're off guard and you push in every single lane and just take down these towers. That's how you want to win the game.
Well, we're about to get into game, ladies and gentlemen. Fnatic versus Roccat here. We'll see who comes out on top as we get onto the Rift. Lots of crowd chants coming out here in the studio, getting behind the teams. But Fnatic, what are they going to do in early game? We hinted at potentially a lane swap. That's not really a matchup that Nautilus wants to be in. Bot lane, however, Kalista, Braum into Kog'Maw, Alistar.
The tricky thing is also lane swapping on Graves is actually not that effective because he's super fast at killing tower. He's way faster than Nautilus when it comes to killing tower because he can stand at short range with the shotgun, get every hit on the tower. So he does do really well in lane swaps because he's often 5-6 seconds faster than the other team at taking down the first tower, and then you have more tempo to go for next one. So I think standard lanes for Roccat might happen here, also just like to try and actually slow down the game a little bit. Lane swaps tend to speed them up in the sense that it opens up the map a lot. And you're also playing against double teleport. Remember what G2 did earlier today, where we saw Perks just be like, oh, you guys are pushing a side lane with no tower, instant TP down and kill you. Roccat though, I mean, they can basically decide, do we want to just play it safe, take standard, or take lane swap, push on these towers, don't have the Gamsu pushing in lane. It's what they're choosing. I think they definitely could have gone standard lanes as well, if needed. It's mainly the Freddy into Graves or Freddy into Gamsu matchup.
I mean, I definitely feel like this is a game that's going to go on for a while as well. And I kind of wonder who that's going to benefit, because Fnatic have gotten a lot of their victories from going late game, getting really good team fights and coordinating in that way. Kind of the same for Roccat in some ways. I just saw Noxac actually push away Gamsu from the top side of the map there. Look at Keystones. I think everything's kind of
very standard.
rather standard here.
Further battle to Graves, of course, in the top lane. No real surprise. Windspeaker's blessing for the Alistar.
Exactly. Bond of Stone for Braum, and then Thunderlords in the mid lane. Yeah, like that's one of the changes, I guess, in terms of what people had at the start of the split for top lane Graves or even jungle Graves. People were going for the Thunderlords for the instant burst, but then people realized you can stack up further extremely quickly with Q. So
I want to highlight what Roccat is doing here in this swap. You guys saw even Noxiac use Q on the wave, and Taps were constantly spamming, and Freddy only did one camp, and then he helped with the red buff, and then he walked over to join the team. So because they know Graves is faster at pushing, the way to make up, for lost time is by instant rushing in with your top lane as well, and just have him join very quickly and take down the tower equally as fast as Fnatic are doing. So they don't want to risk Fnatic getting super far ahead in the swap. Second wave or third wave is coming in anyway, so it's well timed with the minions. Now you are dead even in time, and you just want these minions to die. So I like that little adaptation for Roccat. We still see teams take their time, do like 4 camps with your jungle top laner, then you go up to you slow push in the wave, but then against the Graves you would have fallen behind in how fast you can take down tower. So very good bounce as well for Freddy.
yeah, actually another wave here for Fnatic, so they're going to be slightly behind, but I don't think it's really going to matter too much, as we already have the recalls in from Roccat as they head into the bottom lane. Jungles are just swapping up their camps right now, so not too much to mention there. Of course, the mid lane, not really much happens, and that's basically a farming matchup anyway until forever.
It's going to be so much about Fibben making plays with teleport, jumping into a side lane later. We talked about the way Fnatic wants to play that composition. Graves one lane, Fibben in the opposite side lane, Reckless sits in mid lane and clears, or eventually actually you're going to swap. You're going to keep Reckless in side lane first, I guess, technically to push it out, and then you're going to put him mid when he can start wave clearing very easily with Hurricane and Blade. And he just keeps pressure mid, and then you have double TP side lanes. And it's just very effective 1-3-1. Roccat is pure team fighting, like 5-on-5. You don't have anyone you want to put in a side lane other than the Nautilus because it's teleport, and then the Rek'Sai.
Yeah.
And that's a standout thing for Roccat and how they like to draft. ROC is the jungler I see split push the most. And it's mainly on Rek'Sai. So they use him to kind of cover that non-TP lane. Rek'Sai just can't touch the Lissandra. Can't really touch the Graves as well once he gets a few items. So ROC can clear the wave, but he can't really pressure that side lane.
He'll get tanky enough where he'll just be a brick wall, but he won't even be able to absorb most of the farm as well, because he will be constantly pushed into the tower, so he's not going to get the consistent...
Oh, Noxiac.
Noxiac in the middle lane, only level 2 here, and that's going to be the flash out of the headbutt there. So actually gets the flash away. Top lane Gamsu may not be so lucky. Throws out the Q real quick, but Freddy will follow the dredge line. This could very well be a kill. They're slowly killing him, but Spirit's actually coming out there. First blood goes over to Freddy, and now in this 1v2, he should be good to go. Was thinking about going in with the resonating strike there, but decides better of it. First blood to Roccat.
And I know it's very easy now. Oh, let's talk about it after, because February is going to kill Freddy.
He's looking for bloods, and Freddy, not much you can do. He's going to be sinking to the bottom of the ocean there, and a kill traded in return.
So quite a few things happened. February used his claw because he wanted to push the wave and then recall and use his TP back to lane to get a good recall and then try and pressure Betsy to lose minions when he went back to base. That's why he had to flash after using it. But then top lane, it's very easy now to go, oh, Gamsu gave first blood. What a bad play by him. No, this is on Fnatic. Because Fnatic after the lane swap are looking at Freddy freeze the wave up on top, as we always see, because you bounce the wave when you kill a tier 1 tower. You never send your top laner to that lane, ever. You send your top laner, who's the weakest member right now, to the lane where the minions are pushing towards him. So you actually keep him bot side when he kills tower. He farms a little bit, then he recalls and he goes top and joins your team, and you take another tower and he gets that wave as well and the tower goal. Fnatic did the opposite. They told Gamsu to recall, sent him top lane where Freddy was freezing the wave, so he has to overextend with no tower. Of course ROC shows up and kills him in the gank. Like, that's not on Gamsu, this is on Fnatic. With very poor lane assignments after the lane swap, and a mistake we saw from teams last year. Not an acceptable mistake anymore because you know the gank is going to happen. You know he's going to die because he's overextended trying to push out the wave.
The knock-on effect of that now is that Gamsu is in that one-on-one still. Freddy's going to hit 6 before him, even have more gank pressure in that lane. And Airwax will be hitting 6 at around the same time because he's basically just been farming the jungle. So they can just put more and more pressure on him. And there's no way they can really clear out those tunnels. So he's always going to have pressure within that size of the map. Airwax is even there right now.
Because Airwax wants to secure Freddy and wants to make sure Freddy can push out the wave so there's no freeze happening for Gamsu. They're basically saying, Gamsu, you're not going to get anything here. This wave is going to get all the way into your tower. Minions are going to die. You're going to try and last hit them. And then it's going to start normally even out. And then just very, very slowly push back towards Freddy. Once he's done pushing out this wave, Gamsu's not going to sit here and freeze like 2 or 3 waves and deny Freddy any farm. It's just slowly going to build up a big wave for him. So Roccat is doing everything to deny him. Everyone's going in though.
Trying to make a play in the mid lane. Spirit's only level 5. The flash comes out, but the follow of the ultimate in from Featherman might be enough. He drops into egg form, and Featherman's out of mana, out of health. And Spirit, does he quite have the damage? I'm not sure about level 6. That's a lot of damage in return. Misses the flash thrust. That actually would have been enough damage for him with a Glacial Storm.
Oh, so close. He was right next to him. He just stepped a little bit to the side from Spirit. So Fnatic again are putting more focus on Reckless and Featherman than Gamsu. But they're picking Gamsu champion where he wants to do well early to have pressure in lane. Noxiac will be able to escape, or just take a lot of damage.
Yeah, a lot of damage. You saw them walking past him. I'm not entirely sure if Fnatic would have even checked the bush, but he would play it safe, because if they did, then he would have been dead for sure, being only level 3 against a just turning level 6 Reckless and a level 4 Clyde. But Noxiac is good. So I'm struggling, trying to get in range for the headbutt onto that minion. The eternal struggle of Alistair.
And look for Airwax now to stay around his top side again, because Gamsu now has a wave that's close to his tower. Airwax might even try and be sneaky and get it all the way pushed in. But Gamsu with their Graves, unless you stand right next to the minion to last hit it, you will hit other minions. And that means it is gonna build up a big wave. Gamsu will catch up in farm, but then once that big wave gets to Freddy, he will obviously then get ahead in farm again, because it's gonna be a lot of minions now building up here, coming towards Freddy on his side. And then you can gank Gamsu again, because he's gonna overextend one more time, pushing it out.
We mentioned in Champion Select or just before about potential synergy between Spirit and Gamsu that we haven't really seen since week 1. Gonna hold our thought as Airwax maybe caught out here. As we can drag in Clyde with the Fate's Call from out there for a bit of CC, trying to get that concussive blows down. The great disengage in from Noxiac and Betsy roaming from the mid lane. Spirit goes extremely deep as the flash comes out from Noxiac. He was hoping maybe they had some CC to layer on top of Spirit as he went into that tower, but Betsy had just used his flash thrust and he was out of mana.
Noxiac definitely didn't expect Spirit to follow. He could actually have queued him instantly. I think he had it ready, just checking over my screen. Yeah, he had it ready.
Pulverize?
Yeah, with Spirit on the tower, just knock him up instantly. But I don't think he expected Spirit to follow him all the way.
No one expected these since to jump from the tower at 9 minutes.
Instead though, Fnatic, because they have put all their focus on the bottom side of the map, so again, sacrificing your top laner, it does give you Dragon, so you get some reward from it. But it means this Graves pick will just lack a lot of impact. Like, you pick him to bully that lane, to push it into tower, to have early pressure. And that gets denied for him, and he's now basically always just gonna sit and catch waves. As long as Fnatic can get killed on the bottom side, it can pay off. So far, it's been a Dragon.
And that was the scary thing, honestly. After that, 1, the first blood onto Gamsu, and 2, like, that's what we were expecting. Spirit to have that synergy with Gamsu, constantly pushing the wave. If anyone tries to contest him, Spirit's there to counter gang, and they win the 2v2, because they should. They have more damage, and they should be able to outplay them, but that's just not what happened. Cogmore, one of the best AD carries at clearing out wards with his W. Way better than
Great
Jhin.
skill to have.
Yeah. Jhin is just the most depressing one, because you get to 1 hit left in it, and it's just like, well, gotta reload.
And you waste your crit on a stupid ward. Should be able to crit wards, by the way. Still like double damage with it? Yeah, that would be sick.
That would be. Either way, Gamsu's going to be pushing up the top lane. Freddy, he's optimizing the way he's getting back to lane with the dredge line, sick mechanics.
Save like almost no time, but it's fine. Gang in mid.
He's speed running top lane and looking for another gang on the mid lane, and Betsy does not have his passive, and he's just going to go straight down with the Ring of Frost coming out from Featherman. Hey, that's what you said in Champ Select, man. You come mid lane with both your ultimates, and the mid lane's probably dead.
Hey, it's an old play, and it still works, apparently, because Roccat right now, and funny enough, I said the reason it didn't work anymore is because teams have learned to ward around mid lane. Roccat, and this is strange, because they normally love to play around Betsy. Secure Betsy with pink wards, you know, make sure he can farm. They've kind of left him out to dry in this one, at least on the top side of the map. So, second gank from Spirit now. Onto Betsy. Second one gave the kill. First one did not, but at least forced the summoner that was gone for this one. Roccat needs to respect that around mid lane with the ward.
Well, Airwax needs to respect fire being thrown at him. He'll jump over the wall with a pre-set up tunnel and he is good to go. And that mid lane will be pushed in here. Fnatic just trying to make a rotational play happen. And we're going to see that smooth gank into mid lane.
Yeah, absolutely zero vision on top side. So even though Betsy does connect the stun, Febiven has already queued up his ulti and it's enough to just kill Anivia, nothing she can do. And this is Roccat as a team kind of leaving Betsy on an island, but also even like almost doesn't matter where Betsy was hovering in the lane because he was towards the bottom side.
Yeah.
The range of the claw into ulti is just so long for Febiven. I think he could even have flash if needed.
I mean, yeah, the problem is when you're in that situation against the Lissandra Lee, you get hit by 1 CC and you are dead. You are literally locked out from controlling your character until you land again, which is when you were dead. Yeah, just an extremely strong composition.
Once again though, Fnatic focus around mid lane. It's definitely a change in the game plan for the team, and it's a change I think a lot of fans have looked for because Febiven is one of these players we know can be the standout carry. I mean, Febiven is still regarded as the best mid lane in Europe. He gets the Lissandra pick where you can actually be a bully after level 6 especially. So I like to see Fnatic adapt a little bit, change it up and say it didn't work what we did the last few weeks. It was very up and down. Get more early game pressure, early game focus or mid game focus composition, Kalista, Graves, Lissandra. And be aggressive in the way you're ganking. Play more with your team if you're Spirit than just farm. I like the ganking Spirit a lot more. I like these Graggers yesterday. Definitely seems like he's going further and further away from the LPL Spirit. With just like, I have to solo carry every game, and more like, I need to now help my team.
Which is great because he's on Lee Sin as well. We were questioning that in the draft. But yeah, I really like this draft from Fnatic, and I just need to see them be more proactive, which they're doing right now. We have a 3-man invading the bottom side. Reckless is pushing the bot lane top. We'll start being able to pressure Freddy 1v1 now that they've evened out on levels and farm. In fact, Gamsu's now even ahead of Freddy because of all the farm he's been getting. Spirit just trying to get some more vision in this bottom side of the map. Betsy is being kept in mid lane from the push from Febiven. It's just all being well played by Fnatic right now.
And this massive advantage Freddy had top lane, Roccat completely ignored it. Freddy kept hovering around mid and top lane over and over, allowing Gamsu to push out multiple times, and Gamsu's now hitting farm. So even if Roccat had that great advantage and Fnatic made that big mistake in the swap, Roccat has done absolutely nothing with it, and Fnatic has been rewarded for playing around mid lane and also having a strong 2v2 bot lane with the Kalista constantly pushing. Look at the river around the dragon. Double pink wards. That means Spirit can always gank from the bottom side. He knows he can always just hovering, coming from the side. It means Clyde can roam from bot lane when he's getting pushed up by Reckless on him. He can then roam through the jungle and easily, he knows the river is safe for him to always walk into. If he needs to escape, if he needs to gank that way, it's very easy for Fnatic to move around and always punish Betsy for being on a slow scaling mid laner who wants to get Rod of Ages, stack it up. Not the kind of champions Betsy's been doing well on. He's been doing a lot better when he could actually win lane. And so changes from both teams. Roccat basically saying we want to go full late game because we lost last time through a late game come from Fnatic, and so far haven't shown that they understand how to play defensive. Because Roccat has always been playing aggressive in the early game, in every other game.
The problem with these type of compositions, though, is they can always find a place in the game to stall. Like, if Fnatic stop being able to push one tower and it stalls for 5 minutes, that's another 5 minutes until Roccat hit their power spike.
I often do feel, though, if that is the situation, it's actually on the offensive team to make the correct play. Because often, if another team is able, in this matter, to just sit and wave clear for days, you're doing something wrong. Because we never see wave clear in 3 lanes. So whichever lane doesn't have the wave clear, you start playing around that lane a lot more. You push in that lane and you create a dive maybe on that lane. Or you push in the lane, then roam to the enemy jungle and you dive the Nivea who's trying to wave clear mid. You start playing around Baron. You play around Dragon a lot more. Like, Fnatic is taking early Dragon. This is now second Dragon, 15 minutes in. So Fnatic is doing the exact thing we just talked about. Instead of accepting, oh, Roccat might be able to delay the game for like 30 minutes, well, we take early Dragons now. So you have to respect the Dragon 5 that's gonna happen, stopping you from just wave playing for days. So I like, again, Fnatic, how after the failed lane swap, they've been adapting.
Yeah.
And punishing Roccat for as we said, not understanding how to play defensive.
I mean, it's a small thing as well, but Second Dragon really helps with the style they're playing. Like 1-3-1, and you're constantly just hitting the tower ones, backing away. Like, you're going to grind those down way faster now. I do want to switch topic a little to item games, because we saw the call being picked up once again by Cogmo. We're seeing this a lot from AD carries. They go back on their first back. And also the Death Stance coming in from Gamsu in the top lane as a first item. Usually seen that as a second one recently, but this is one of the first times I'm seeing it first.
We've seen, so Adam did the same, Death Dance, as his first item coming in, and just like 75 raw AD is obviously very high, and then the extra sustain you get from it is very good, because again it's just purely on physical damage for you. You don't get any armor penetration, that's the downside of it, but it's still a very strong first item, gives you great wave clear on the Graves as well, with the flat AD you get from it. And the bleed effect is fairly underrated, because if you have a champion who can normally maybe burst you down in a mid-game fight, like say a Nivea connecting stun into E, often kills these targets, the bleed effect is gonna keep you alive in that case, or at least give you a chance to then sustain back up, and then further, it synergizes well with the next items, because you get more, you get Steric's Gauge, so you have all these extra survivability items when you drop low. And that's why it's really good that the bleed can also stop some of that burst coming.
Right, and because most of the damage that Graves does is kind of like in a caster sense. Like if he gets a Q and an ult out just before he dies, he can regen like an extra 200-300 health that would actually just keep him alive. So early game and throughout the game, actually quite a nice pickup. Just interesting to see it earlier and earlier on into his item build. Roccat maybe cutting out in the mid lane. Pops the Unbreakable will, and the rest of the team is behind him. Freddy is coming in from the top side. Reckless drags in the support. Nice knockback from the Fate's Call. Fevrin goes deep, hits the ultimate onto 4 people, but he instantly gets blown up. No one is able to touch tabs right now. He has this massive front line in front of him. If the Cogmo doesn't die at the start of the fight, you're going to have a bad time.
Still though, 18 minutes in here, Fnatic picking the right time to fight. Roccat was walking around in the river, kind of spotting if Fnatic were on the Rift Herald, and they catch him. Fevrin had a great ulti as well, picked up another kill for himself, like he's 3-1 so far. But as you mentioned, that front line is difficult to fight against. Betsy, the zone control he can offer on this Nivea is gonna make it hard for Fnatic. But I still like the fact they took the fight, and they didn't use any teleports on it, so they can actually stop playing 1-3-1 now. Betsy's actually out of mana, so just push mid now, as Fnatic is doing, because there's nothing to defend, it's an Alistar. Who cares, that's a mid tower.
Yeah, the tower's already low as well, pre-set up by Fnatic with these small chip damage that they've been putting onto it over several sieges, several rotations. Also, all the kills are being laid onto Fevrin as well, and he's going to be the late game alternative, or answer rather, for the Cogmo.
It's a bit of a strange call from Roccat moving in, kind of warding alone, spotting Fnatic at the Rift Herald, and then the fight is on. Fly has to be drawn in here, so like frontline is now set up in front of tabs, but this ulti here from Fevrin is great. Forcing flashes, Betsy will take him down together with Tap, but Betsy is using its entire mana pool. And when you fight as a Nivea early on without blue buff, you're gonna use that mana pool. You're gonna have to go back to base then after, and that's why Fnatic could push tower right after. So again, correct move taking the fight from Fnatic. Yes, you trade 1-for-1, but the follow-up where Nivea's out of mana is where you can take a tower. So I really like the call.
Still a 1-for-1 and a mid lane turret, so Fnatic do come out ahead and are starting to open up the goal gap.
And now they've denied Bitsy the blue buff as well. So again, this mid-game Nivea is gonna run out of mana. No Athene's completed yet. Rod of Age is still stacking. So the mana pool is really not enough for Nivea at this point. And I really like Fnatic's focus then on it. But for Roccat, it is, as you talked about, defense. You know, defense, defense, defense. Defensive ward, set up wave clear for Betsy, get 2 items on taps, then you're looking to fight.
Yeah. And even then, you're playing defensive because you're still defending tabs.
Sure, you're kiting and kiting.
So, yeah. I mean, once you get past like 3-4 attack speed as Cogmo, you want to just stand still. There's no human way that you can actually get the most out of stutter stepping and also attacking if you have 5 attack speed. But it is kind of possible if you have like 3.5, if you have sick APM, but even for tabs, I know it's difficult when I was talking to him the other week in the interview. So we'll see what Fnatic does from here. I mean, constantly just putting down pressure, as you mentioned, putting down the wards in the opposing jungle, taking away the blue buffs, constantly pushing Roccat back onto their sides of the map.
This is the point where you start using a double TP, and you have Reckless push up bot and then let him go mid lane. You might even be able to go back and get Hurricane, that's why he's farming bot right now. Yeah, he's on 1500 gold, so he's just pushing it out. Get your Hurricane, now your comp really starts coming online. Put Fevrin in a side lane with the TP, and you just play this 1-3-1 game where no matter who's defending against Fevrin, he's out of position, and he can't join if Fnatic is forcing a play on the other side of the map. And I think that's very, very good play. Dragon is spawning, so that's obviously going to be the main objective, and then you set up your split push right after, because this is going to be third dragon in 21 minutes. Fnatic is looking good when it comes to getting 5 dragons, which is the greatest thing against scaling compositions.
Talking about stall tactics as well, ZZ Rod just picked up by Freddy, so just placed that in the top lane, and while Gamsu was able to easily push in the top lane, then now it's going to take a little bit longer with those Voidlings constantly pushing back.
I don't think ZZ Rod is that great against AD carry top laners. It's very easy for them to kill the portal and also just like one-shot the Voidling super quick and just move on. It's very good against tanks because they need so much time to kill that portal over and over, and they have a hard time pushing out minions. Graves is like one hit and a Q, and then like the wave is almost dead. And then just get to that portal and kill it. So don't think it has the same value, but Freddy obviously wants to have it for when the team fight breaks out. He wants that side lane pushing with the portals, and this is third dragon coming. Roccat wants to fight though.
Yeah, Noxax is looking to try and get in range here. The smite will come out by Spirit, securing that one. The ward jump and the anchor does not connect onto Lee Sin's backside. He's a little bit too slippery for the Nautilus right here. They'll be going into the bottom side of the map before they go back into the mid lane. Gamsu popping the collateral damage, knocks him back to tower. Gets him out of range, the threat range of Roccat, but this will put him back inside it with the wall. The minion wave is disintegrating, Claw comes through, and defensive Flash Frost, which is basically what you have to do really in that situation as Betsy, just in case Lysandra decides to pull the trigger.
Another objective gained by Fnatic without using a summoner. Double TP is still available for this team. Gamsu walked all the way down. If Roccat really wanted to fight that one, they could have moved in so much earlier and started setting up for it. They're trying to siege mid. Wave there from Lysandra here. Hurricane completed for Kalista. You can get a few hits on it, but it's going to take a lot of time before this one is dead, and then someone has to go bot lane and clear it out for Gamsu. Top lane is pushing. Fabian can grab that one. And I just want to see Fnatic now stall for, half a minute. Get this push over. Get Betsy's mana pool gone. Or out. Whatever. And then try and play your 1-3-1. Tower does go down in the end because they sent Reckless to clear out the wave. Interestingly enough, when you have your... you can't defend it anyway with 3.
Yeah.
Even though, you keep Lysandra for a wave clip, but she can't do anything here against the Nivea wall. So, in my opinion, just put Febivan up there. So you have the TP at least. Because now Reckless is going to have to respect that he's pushing so far up alone. Roccat can force something bot side, and then Reckless can't join.
He's not going to be able to react to it, and Roccat will just be able to take this tower. Fnatic cannot fight them because of the aforementioned reasons.
Freddy should have gone back already though. As soon as you saw Reckless push, Freddy should have recalled. He wasn't needed to take tower because he had teleport anyway, and he could just defend this one. But they sent ROC, so it's definitely not bad for them. It just means they can't really push further now.
Yeah.
Had it been Freddy top, then they could have pushed in for another tower down bottom lane and used Freddy's TP to have a 5v4, potentially. Again, we're setting up a lot of options where things can happen because you're putting yourself in a situation that you potentially enable that play.
All I wanted to do was recall, man. He'll be getting out of there, but yeah, Roccat is still identifying these opportunities though. Like Fnatic, they send Reckless into the top lane, and then Roccat is like, well, you still have TP, so let's go bot lane and actually make a rotation, take the tower, boom, and then we've got it. And in terms of the gold difference, there's basically nothing there. It's like 500 gold at 24 minutes in the scaling composition.
Right, if you surrender the mid tower anyway, let your teleport go to the side lane. Because then suddenly you can, it's about giving you the option of saying, oh, do we actually want to fight bot lane now? Fine. Go down with our AD carry, go down with the rest of the team, and then use TP from Lysandra, and we fight if they keep pushing, the option of it.
But
Betsy's getting destroyed.
It could be pretty good here. Here comes the egg, and there's actually no spears coming out because the Ren was already used, but Spirit already has enough damage, especially when Fev in the rise, and that's a kill onto Betsy. This will be the mid lane turret being punched in. Tabs is sat in the top lane. He'll have to go for a swift recall. Fnatic might be able to take this inner.
Another situation, though, where Fnatic are moving into the jungle, into the blue side jungle of Roccat, and then Betsy has a very hard time positioning in lane because he doesn't know where they're coming from, and suddenly 2 or 3, 4 guys show up and they kill him again. Now the wave clear is gone, another tower, so Fnatic been getting a lot of objectives by making very simple but smart decisions.
Simple, smart, crisp, and well executed. I think that's the main thing coming out here because it's very reminiscent of like H2K when they're on form, when they roam from lane to lane, warding up the enemy jungle in between lanes, taking a tower, chipping away at it, getting a pick, going to mid lane, chipping away at that tower, going back, picking up both towers in quick succession, and lining up the dominoes, right? And this is what we're seeing from Fnatic that we just haven't really seen as crisp in the last couple of weeks.
And if you look at Rocket's blue side jungle, around where Taps is and where the blue buff was before, there's one ward placed. even though you lost your bot lane tower like such a long time ago, and that blue buff has been a very hot objective. There's one ward in there, so it was very easy for Fnatic to take that route to actually go and jump onto Betsy, and then also a few guys coming up from mid lane. It hurts Roccat so much whenever the main wave clear gets killed, and it's happened a few times.
Well, they are starting to clear out vision now. 26 minutes into the game, Baron is something that can be rushed by either team, so definitely want to get some vision around there, some information, just in case the opponents decide to do it. We've seen even Roccat, even Giants earlier today rush that one down, so something to keep a track of. As you were talking about earlier, here's the 1-3-1 being commenced. The teleports in the side lanes. Fervin is actually now recalling, but this is the play, this is the setup that Fnatic are looking for with these picks.
Yeah,
we just have to see how effective it is now.
Think back to the last pick. Taps was top lane trying to push out the wave, so he obviously couldn't help, meaning it's very safe for Fnatic to kill Betsy, or just go for the play one more time. And they're looking to do exactly the same. Gamzo can bullet his lane. Fervin is just sitting top of the big wave pushing in. Someone has to go deal with it, or he gets a free tower. And that opens up, you know, for the TP plays around mid lane if you want to. Even go down 2v1 on the bottom side. It gives so many plays. Just gotta kill that portal that Freddy's placing on top side. Spawning all the small voidlings.
I also like the way that Fnatic is playing this, because you'll see Fervin like disappear from the map for a couple of seconds, sit and try push, even though there's a minion wave there, because it's just like, because Roccat is being strangled with vision, they don't know where he is. He could be mid lane, he could be coming in for a flank, he's Lissandra, there could be a claw coming out, and then bam, they just lose a member out of nowhere. So just the mind games coming out from Fnatic, abusing the vision control they have, is really nice to see.
Still want to keep playing aggressive. Definitely do not want to go too late game against what Roccat has been building. Not that the game becomes impossible to win, it just becomes close to impossible. Once you get QSS on taps, Lissandra's value really drops down, and she's like the main engage for Fnatic outside of Spirit trying to insect someone. And that becomes so difficult late game with the protection, you know, QSS coming in, which is already complete now for tap, so it just becomes harder and harder, but that's why these dragons have been so important. Alex is here now trying to steal, but again, Roccat are so late. And they're trying to go for play.
Flash, drench line, but already behind Clyde's big shield. Spirit should be surviving. He'll have to flash away. There's the kick. Doesn't quite bowling ball the Rek'Sai into the Nautilus and the Alistair. They're still on retreat. Clyde is with his team, and they're just going to get out of here. So that was a dragon in exchange for Spirit's flash and ultimate, which is not the biggest deal. And Fervin just in the mid lane, chilling, taking out a mini wave. He's fine.
And one more time, the call for Roccat is fight for dragon. Stop them from taking another easy dragon. And just like the last one, they come in super late and end up just getting disengaged on Alex.
Oh, Alex. Maybe caught out and he's good to go, but
risky plays.
Just to put it in perspective, we're 28 minutes now, dawning on the 29-minute mark. 4 dragons for Fnatic. They've been taking it from very early on in the game and on the dot. Every single that dragon spawns, and in 6 minutes from now and just under, we could actually have Aspect.
It is important. It was clearly the decision for Fnatic, saying we sacrifice our top lane in the early game by keeping Kalista on bottom side so she can take early dragon with Rind. And we use that to go 5 dragons. So I'm sure if you talk to Fnatic after the game, they came in and saying like we identified one of the optimal ways to win this game was get early dragons and then start snowballing with the dragons because we knew we had stronger mid game. And it's been paying off. Also because Gamzo caught up in farm so quickly with Freddy, even though he was so far down.
It's actually really nice because Roccat with the composition, they're putting Fnatic on a timer, and then Fnatic put Roccat on a timer with dragons. So now this blue is falling. Another blue 1 deny from Betsy. Has he actually gotten the blue this game? I feel like maybe one, maybe the first donate, but since then I just feel like I just watch Gamsu. He's just in the jungle taking away the blue buffs.
Over and over, Fnatic was invading in. Did a good job fighting around their Anivia when she was out of mana or pushing in her lanes. Always the annoying thing, is you gotta use that mana to clear out the waves. Fnatic is gonna push up mid, get Baron control. At this point, you're 30 minutes in, you have Kalista. Baron is very easy to take down for you. You just gotta get that deep vision behind the Baron pit first, and that's what Fnatic is setting up now. And then if you force an Anivia comp, and like a comp where Taps is on a low mobility AD carry to face check towards you, oh, then getting the flanks are so easy for Lee Sin and Lissandra. Problem is still that QSS. Fervin has to go in and ult himself just to kind of zone and buy time and make it hard for Taps to find a target. And then try and single him out after. Or buy enough time for Reckless to take down a tank, but that's difficult against Alistair, Rek'Sai and Nautilus. Like this late game for Roccat is so good, and they're only 2,000 gold behind. With this tower down, only 1,000 gold, a little bit more, 1,500 gold. Flippin is also going to trade top, so actually that evens the tower trade. But Roccat are still looking fine outside of the 4 dragons for Fnatic. That's the big problem. They got to be able to stop number 5.
For sure, and while the 1-3-1 kind of has a shelf life here from now until they get Baron, because, well, there's no more towers to take unless you get to the inhibitor towers. For Roccat still make the brute force playing down middle lane, they make the right play, but of course, as you mentioned, those towers were traded. Both inners go down. Baron is still an objective on the board, which is important for both teams. One for Roccat to stall out the game, and then Fnatic to actually stop them from stalling out the game and actually punish them. Dragon is going to be coming up in maybe 3 minutes from now, which is something that Roccat need to contest absolutely, and they've been slow to the punch every single time. Airwax, mate, you're being hit there by Gamsu. You might have to run away. There you go.
This is going to be, if Fnatic gets 5 dragons, it's going to be the earliest we've seen so far in the split. 2 other games had 5 dragons, and that was like over 40 minutes. They got it. So with Fnatic getting so many early ones. So Roccat, I mean, they're making the call now. Only issue is that Fnatic technically can bait you into stopping the dragon and then have members already starting a Baron. Because you're investing all 5, to stop the dragon. And if Fnatic is just around the mid lane, forcing you to go into dragon, they can rush the Baron. Or once you start the dragon, they rush to the Baron. Like, you can trade it. You have Dragon 4 anyway, you just take the next one and you get a Baron before it with the Kalista. So that it's funny with all these trades that can happen. Dragon 145. Roccat is around Baron.
Oh man.
They're just gonna rush down. Gamsu is pushing ass teleport. Everyone is coming in. This is super risky and not a great call in my opinion.
But they carry on with it. Tabs is wearing off with his W. He's now down in DPS, and this will be coming back up again. Spirit's going to have to come out for the steal to make it happen, and he comes over the wall and actually gets it. Now with Gamsu heading into the pit, this is a bloodbath for both teams. We just have to see who emerges out on top after this brawl. Noxia's going to be falling here. Spirit, Fevin, Cry all die, and Reckless is trying to cut around. But that's the Quadra kill coming out for Tabs, looking to kill the entire team. He finally gets shut down, and Freddy and Airwax trying to take out Gamsu. But Graves, he's got all this damage. He's ticking down the blink. And finally, Airwax finishes off the fight. The last man standing after that fight is Airwax.
So Roccat saw Gamsu pushing on bottom and saying it's too late to go stop him right now without giving up some of the Baron pressure. Let's start the Baron. If Fnatic shows up, we can fight them. We want a team fight. We are the team fighting team right now. Baron ends up actually going all the way down and Spirit steals it. Then the fight breaks out. Fabian was teleporting in. Gamsu teleported in extremely late. He joined when like the Baron was already dead. That's when he started teleporting. But still, like, Rocket's basically investing everything into saying we want to fight. Now let's look at death timers, because Dragon is alive in 20 seconds. Gamsu is the last man. He's gonna respawn. Betsy is here. Freddy's there with teleport. So Roccat is gonna rush straight down towards this Dragon. Because now that's the next Baron. You do not want to give up Dragon 5 at 34 minutes.
Yeah, we might just get all that craziness all over again in a couple of seconds here to Fisher. 3 seconds remaining on that Dragon. It is now spawning, just coming around the pit there, and is now spawned. Airwax has started it. I'm not sure if he entirely wanted to, but now Tabs not activating his W just yet. Fnatic around the area, Spirit looking for maybe another miracle steal. Betsy in the mid lane, actually finding it hard to rotate to his team, just in case Fnatic decide to cut them off in the rotation. Now Noxac is still zoning, so is Freddy. Klein coming in here, trying to get that smite in range, but he'll go for the full-blown fight with the Fate's Call coming down onto Tabs, but now he's completely untouched. People need to start cutting away from him, but great ultimate in there by Spirit to zone him away. M from Roccat is so low, and that is Aspect out for Fnatic, chasing down Airwax. He's still in range of the kick. He'll follow through. Nice knock-up as he comes in there, but Airwax just trying to delay the time on Fnatic. Spirit will take him down eventually, but it will take some time. That's all Airwax is looking for.
So what a team fight again here. Fnatic ends up winning it. A big part of that fight was actually a change that happened to Lee Sin some time ago, where if he kicks a big, beefy tank, it does extra damage. He kicked Freddy right in the face of Taps, and Taps took like 50% of the HP, instantly gone from kicking in a tank. It's a great fight there for Spirit, and they're going in again.
Fevin jumps in with the glacial path. There comes the W. Everyone's being locked down. Tabs already taken out by Reckless and Gamsu combined. what an exceptional engage there from Fnatic. Now taking down the inhibitor. That's 4 people down. Roccat is the only one alive. And just like that, at 35 minutes into the game with all of this lead up, Fnatic may just close out the game. They have Aspect. These towers are like paper. And Fnatic completely destroy Roccat in that one after 2 big team fights. Be closing in on this Nexus. Will be taking the win over Roccat.
Hey, we talked about the 5 dragons being built up by Fnatic. Roccat couldn't win the last team fight. And that's it. Like, that's the issue when you build so much late game scaling. Yes, you might hit a point where you're technically strong enough to win, but you're often so far behind if you make one mistake, the game is over then. So Roccat lost that last crucial team fight. Dragon 5 for Fnatic. Next push is easy.
That's what we need to do. Starting on 3? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Fnatic!
Fnatic just being content with that win. I mean, they exposed some weaknesses, they forced the fights, they were faster to those objectives before Roccat could punish. And that was basically the game. We knew it was going to go late, and we knew we were going to have an ending like that in some way.
Yeah, I mean, there was less focus on split pushing from Fnatic than I expected, but we did see FLICKR sit in that side lane from time to time. Again, it was more the lane swap strategy, where maybe I was too quick to call out being like, this is super bad, because like technically it is bad because you are sacrificing Gamsu, and like you are forcing him, either forcing him to lose CS or push up a lane, he's gonna get ganked and killed, and that's what happened. But Fnatic made that sacrifice, saying we wanted an early dragon, like as early as possible we want to take a dragon. So we keep Reckless and Braum, so Reckless and Fly on the bottom side, Lee Sin plus Kalista, that's fairly easy then taking the early dragon. Into the second one came at like 14-15 minutes. Yep. And then at 35 minutes we got Dragon 5. Rocket's comp had hit the point where it was gonna become really, really strong. And then that last team fight, when you guys get a replay in the analyst desk, just look at the kick from Spirit. A big, massive tank. Like Spirit right now, he's like writing to the designer saying, thank you very much for that buff to Lee Sin. Yep. We don't see it very often. Yeah, we don't see it very often in action, but when you then smack a tank into a squishy, it's like 50-60% HP just gone from Tabs, and he was out of the fight.
I mean, Tabs is one of the easiest ones to do it on, specifically Cogmore, because you have to stand still as an AD carry. You're not like a Kalista, you're not kiting around, so you just line up the shot, take it, and then there's the bowling ball, and it was so much damage, and absolutely it did lock down that final fight, because in the one before, Baron, like Tabs literally quadred them. He just sat in the pit and just killed everyone, because he had the front line there. So, yeah, I mean, well played by Fnatic. Of course, what you were saying at the start, like, it could have been more clean. You know, he could have not died, that being Gamsu in the top lane, but at the same time, if Roccat take the bait and then the rest of your map win and just close it out like that, well, maybe that was the right play.
So it's a somewhat strange game in a way to watch, because both teams did something we didn't expect from them. Again, Fnatic going a lot more mid-game focused compared to the let's try and build comps around Reckless, also because teams are banning out Lulu and so on. But Roccat going full late game. Saying, oh, we normally lose late game. What if we build a full late game comp with like pure scaling, you know, tank top, control scaling, mage in the mid lane, hyper carry, AD carry. Like, we will sacrifice the early game to just go full late. Problem is, Roccat is so used to playing aggressive early on, they didn't have proper defensive vision, especially around the mid lane with Betsy. So you got ganked by that Lissandra Lee Sin combo we talked about. Get level 6, boom, instant kill.
Well, we'll see if that was the game plan coming out from Fnatic, because we are going to send it stage side with Pyrotechnics, who is going to talk up to Reckless about that win.
Thank you very much, Pulse. I am joined by Reckless AD Carry from Fnatic. Congratulations on your victory today. You guys are creeping closer to the playoffs, but there has definitely been some inconsistency. For a team who has kind of had a lot of ups and downs in the recent times, and you've talked about looking to the future, where do you think Fnatic is at right now as a team?
Well, I guess the standings talks for itself in some ways. We're, I guess, below the top teams and ahead of the bottom teams. But then again, we also dropped a game to Spice, so it's kind of hard to tell where we're at. But at the same time, I feel like we're improving on a weekly basis. Therefore, I'm not sure what state we're going to be in for playoffs, but I think we'll be as ready as we can possibly be. And I'm pretty excited to see what also IEM can bring for us as a team, and perhaps tighten us as a group and make us more cohesive, perhaps, as a unit.
Absolutely. This isn't even your final form. I'm excited to see how you do that tournament next week and going forward towards those playoffs. So I want to ask a little bit about Daylor, since he is your coach. He's the most decorated coach we have here in Europe. What, in your opinion, we've heard from a lot of people singing his praises, what, in your opinion, is the biggest thing, what makes Daylor such an impactful coach on your team?
For me, the biggest thing about Daylor is how he managed to click it on and off between like practice times and whatnot. Like, he is a very, very good friend of mine. outside of our practice schedules. But what we're actually practicing is 110%, giving it 110% every time, trying to improve us as a team, improve us as individuals, and really looking at all times to just improve on a global scale. And I think the difference in between outside of practice and inside practice is really great to have, because it just makes it a more friendly atmosphere in many ways.
I'm glad he's able to be your friend as well as your coach and mentor. Really quick last question for you too. You said that you have time to sit down and talk to him. Does he make a point to seek out every single player and just sit down with each one of them and pinpoint every little thing they can do to improve, or is it mostly just sitting together as a team?
Well, during practice times, we're mostly focused on ourselves as a team, obviously. I think solo queue and whatnot is mostly for individual practice, but I think how he schedules it and how we have like individual meetings at many times, it makes it very personal in many ways. And I think that's really important to have and not only be work partners, right? We're also friends in the end of things, and I think that's just makes it feel so much better in general.
It's good to hear. It's a positive environment, sounds like. Well, once again, congratulations on your victory, and we will go ahead and send it over to the analyst desk to further break that one down and get a few words in with Fnatic's coach.
Thank you very much, Pyra. Indeed, joined here by Daylor. Congratulations, of course, first off with that victory. A lot of kind words from one of your players, Reckless there. The first
He
thing
has to kind of though.
He has to. He knows
I don't know a rhyme, but yeah, no kind words, no food, or like.
Yeah, we still don't have that sentence, but of course they know.
The first thing I want to ask you about, Daylor, is of course Clyde coming into the lineup. We knew from you guys that it was to improve faster, and we hear that you have a lot of individual feedback with the players. How do you think he's been adjusting, and how do you think Fnatic has been adjusting with him?
I think that he's adjusting pretty good. Like, when we got Clyde, we were not looking for a guy that was going to have a massive impact from the beginning. It's more like we're trying to build a project, and we felt that he could mesh really well with the team, both gameplay and personality-wise, and I think he's doing his job and he's improving from week to week, and he's working really hard, so I think he's doing good.
Well, we hear this a lot from you guys as a team from Fnatic, that you want the players to click outside of the game as well, personality-wise, and that's something that other teams might not put as much emphasis on. Is this something that comes from you or from the players, and why is that?
From my point of view, if you want to have a long-term project, the way it's going to work is if the team meshes. Of course, you can have a long-term project where there's conflicts all the time, but this just makes everything so much more difficult. So maybe, let's say that you have 5 players that are really good, and you have a really conflictive player. This is going to create the atmosphere that at some point it can explode. So if you're all the time winning, it's not going to have impact, but if it's kind of shaky at some point, this could be really difficult.
Obviously, you need to trade that off long-term success with at least some short-term successes as well, because obviously you don't want to be doing very poorly at the start, only to always look at the long-term. Has Fnatic, or have you ever at any point gotten worried about we're not doing that well just yet, or is it just still going according to timeline?
I actually don't know what's according to the timeline, because I cannot say, okay, we're going to get this player, so in 1 month we're going to be beating everyone.
Yeah.
I cannot really do this. So I can see the potential in a player, and I try to work with him, and I can have an estimation. But even though at the beginning of the split, many people ask me, like, how do you think you're going to do? I thought that it was going to be really rough, and it's actually just being as more or less as expected. We did a player swap, and I think that player swap was really beneficial for our team dynamic. And even though the results are not showing, I see the growth of the team from week to week. And also it has happened that some teams from the beginning have a team identity. So when you find your team identity, it's kind of easier to grow.
Yep.
It's like you find your team identity, and from there you start growing on the rest. I think what has happened with us, it's kind of, we reach a point, we hit a wall, okay, this is not the correct way, and then we repeat the process. So every time that you do this, you improve in an area, but you don't excel at that area. So let's say I'm going to talk about a team that has a particular style. G2 they remind me to how we played last year, that they were going ham. We were going ham all the time. They played this way. So because they have an identity, they can start from that point. But at the same time, this is kind of double-edged, because you have your identity, you're really strong from the beginning, but then because you're so one-dimensional this way, it's so much more difficult to evolve. And then the coaching staff comes in, and then you start growing. So in our case, because we've been trying something, hit the wall, go back to the starting point, trying something. So we're learning a lot of stuff, but we're not mastering yet. But what I think that it will happen is that at some point, all this will come up together, and then we will show what we've been learning. So at that point that we reach we find our identity, then everything will show. And I think we are working properly in that direction. How long it will take, I'm not completely sure, but I think we're in the good pace, and I think for playoff we will be ready.
Cool.
Oh, I thought you had a...
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that. Looking towards the race for playoffs, we obviously have Katowice coming up. Some teams have a break or they will scream. You guys are obviously playing that tournament. What's the goal? Is the goal to do well at Katowice, or is this just another step in that building phase towards playoffs?
Of course, the goal is always it's part of the goals to do good. But from my point of view, we're still a team that is growing, is building. And for example, I think that this is going to be a really good experience for, let's say, Clyde, that he's a new player. Also, it's going to help us continue improving. Screaming with teams from outside of Europe is going to give us other perspectives, and this will help us grow. So, of course, my idea is let's do the best we can, but at the same time, I want to win. But I know that this is a learning experience, that this is going to help us be even stronger in the future.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for that insight. We, of course, had the feature of you earlier, and congratulations for that win.
And a very clean gaming house. I can't stress this enough. I want to live in that gaming house. It's way better than everything I've been in my life.
All right. And good luck in Katowice as well,
Thank you very
Taylor.
much.
All right. Thank you. Next up, we have Vitality versus Elements to close out our week here. Keep it tuned right here. Our coverage of the European LCS. We'll be right back.
That was good.
Why is no one in this team singing on stage? It used to be always the guy sings.
Because we don't even care about mic check, you know?
Ooh.
We are too toxic.
Reckless drags in the support. Nice knockback from the Fate's call. Febrin goes deep. Hits the ult onto 4 people, but he instantly gets blown up. Spirit's gonna have to go out for the steal to make it happen, and he comes over the wall and actually gets it.
Oh, pentakill! Go pentakill! Go pentakill! You got this! You got this! You got this!
Continue.
You got this! Yeah!
Good job. And they're going in again. Febrin jumps in with the glacial path. There comes the W. Everyone's being locked down. Tabs already taken out by Reckless and Gamsu combined. And after 2 big team fights, will be taking the win over Roccat.